Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to take a look at an announcement coming out of Universal Studios. But before we get to that, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I know I haven't been very active in the last 4 to 5 days on here, but since I have some time off, I plan on changing that. We're also going to have D&D Night Episode 8, which should be coming out tomorrow at some point. But now let's get into the actual news. And the actual news is that apparently Channing Tatum and the directors of the 21 Jump Street series, Chris Lord and Phil Miller, or Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I stand corrected. I don't know why I reversed their first names. But it is supposed to be a Universal monster film, or a film based off of a Universal monster, Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, that kind of thing. But it's being taken in a quote-unquote tongue-in-cheek manner. Now, I think that could work out relatively well. They've done it before with other properties. Mel Brooks had done it with Leslie Nielsen in Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is one of, I think, his most underrated films. I actually did a movie spotlight on that. But the problem is that I don't necessarily know if Chris Lord and or if Phil Lord and Chris Miller can take that in an intelligent direction, kind of like what a Mel Brooks film would have done, or if they're going to take it in the 21 Jump Street direction, which is basically going to be, sex and fart jokes the entire time, and then then Channing Tatum is just kind of there doing stuff. Now, we also don't know what Channing Tatum is going to be doing in this film. We don't know if he's going to play the monster. We don't know if he's going to be the main protagonist, if there is going to be one outside of the monster. We have gotten word this is going to take place in modern day. But, outside of that, there's really not too much. But we can kind of go in different directions with this. And the thing is that some of these characters are easier to adapt into a modern day setting, even from a comedy standpoint, than others. My personal favorite would probably be if they did something on the Fishman, but I doubt that's going to happen. Unless that's literally the one property that Universal let go. Because that's the other question I have with this, is this is being done presumably by Universal proper. It's not being done by Blumhouse. And they have several films that are in development at Blumhouse right now, including there's a Bride of Frankenstein remake that's being done down there with the director from the Saw movies, or one of the directors from the Saw movies. I can't remember his exact name. But reportedly, there are also some other properties that are going on over there right now as well, because Universal basically dumped all their properties over to Blumhouse, or licensed them out, quote unquote, after the failure of Tom Cruise's The Mummy and their whole Dark Universe thing. So now they've kind of gone in alternate routes. And financially, they've been relatively successful. The Invisible Man, even though it was a horrible, shitty movie, I did see it, by the way, and even though it was a crap film, it still made a good amount of money because the budget was only $5 million, and it made like $50 million or something at the worldwide box office. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were for that movie, but it made a lot of money in terms of profit margin from what its budget was. And then you also had you have some other things that are kind of going on there. Like I said, after The Invisible Man, now you have Bride of Frankenstein. I'm assuming they're going to be moving forward on some other ones, but adapting Frankenstein, I think, would be kind of a hard one. I think you can find some comedic stuff in that. I mean, again, obviously Mel Brooks did something to that effect with Young Frankenstein in the 70s, but I don't know if you're going to be able to do it with the way that Phil Lord and Chris Miller tend to do. I'm just going to say Lord and Miller so I don't reverse their names. The way the Lord and Miller tend to do these types of movies with the comedy they like to do, I don't know if that would work as well. I could see it working with Dracula to an extent. I could also see it working with the Wolfman. Invisible Man, I don't think would really be on the table, considering that film just came out not that long ago. Again, even though this is being done by Universal proper, I don't know. And then you also have stuff like the Phantom of the Opera, which I think could also be a funny one if you did that. But again, that's a weird one in the sense of, the original was a silent film, and I think a lot of its charm was in that it was a silent film. So doing a spoof of that, I don't know if you'll be able to get the audience draw that maybe you would from a character with a bigger name like a Wolfman or a Dracula or a Frankenstein. But I would say it's one of those big three, and I'd probably narrow that down to either Dracula or Wolfman at this point. Tatum, I think, could very easily probably play either one of those characters. Again, if you're going with a tongue-in-cheek angle, that would be interesting. Now, whether or not this is also a tie into the 21 Jump Street universe is another question, because they've also, it's been expressed that they wanted to jump franchises with 21 Jump Street, where they were actually going to do a crossover with Men in Black called MIB 23, which I believe eventually became Men in Black International. And because that kind of fell apart, maybe they went and looked at other things. So it also would not surprise me if this was a 21 Jump Street crossover and we saw Jonah Hill pop up somewhere near this. That would actually be kind of funny if you had like a Channing Tatum Dracula and then Jonah Hill was Renfield. That would actually be kind of interesting and funny. But like I said, there's a lot we can speculate on at this point, and that's mostly what I'm saying here is speculation. The facts of the matter is that Channing Tatum is attached to this project. It is happening at Universal. Phil Lord and Chris Miller have been signed on to direct the film. I don't necessarily know if they'll be writing it as well, and it's also going to be based around one of the Universal monsters, and it's going to be set in a modern time, in today's time. So, like I said, there's a lot to digest there. There's a lot to kind of go through, but I think we've covered it fairly well so far. But that's just kind of my opinion on this type of a news. Again, this can go a lot of different ways, but I want to know what your opinion is. What monster would you guys like to see readapted, if any, or if you'd like to see no readaptations? Personally, that's where I would stand on most of this. But what monster do you think would best fit in the readaptation of a comedy? What monster would you like to see pop up in this film? Do you think Channing Tatum is a good choice to lead it? Do you think Lord and Miller are good choices to direct? As usual, put your thoughts in the comments below. I like to know what you're thinking. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?